All the Boys Love Mandy Lane premiered in 2006. The movie had a number of well-received screenings at various festivals, including the Toronto International Film Festival, where it sparked a bidding war among distributors. This war was eventually won by none other than Harvey Weinstein. Now everybody knows this name. However, it will take another 7 years for Mandy Lane to receive a theatrical release in the US, due to the mess that ensued after it was picked up by the Weinstein Company. Harvey Weinstein and his brother Bob couldn't agree on whether the movie should have a wide release or not, so they decided to do another test screening, which didn't go very well. Some additional financial troubles forced the Weinsteins to then sell the movie to a German company called Senator Entertainment, which had recently expanded to the US. Unfortunately, the company's US branch ultimately went out of business, leaving Mandy Lane in limbo, until it all came full circle in 2013 when the Weinstein Company reacquired distribution rights to the film.
All the Boys Love Mandy Lane makes its debut with a video-on-demand release.
After all the trouble and hype, reviews still ended up mixed. Mandy Lane encapsulates the bittersweet early 2000s nostalgia that many are longing for nowadays. It's not so much horror as a sun-kissed ode to adolescence, which touches on teen cruelty and vulnerability, gender dynamics, and more. It's not an Oscar-winning movie by any means, but there's definitely more to the story than meets the eye. The movie's premise is based on a basic teen slasher structure. You have a group of teens who decide to spend a weekend at a secluded ranch house where a crazy killer starts hunting them down one by one. At first glance, every character represents a well-known teen archetype, like the promiscuous girl, the stoner, the jock, the nerd, the virgin, you name it. But the interesting thing about All the Boys Love Mandy Lane is that everyone is not quite what they seem. The movie opens with a shot of a school hallway. The bell has rung and students are flooding in from classrooms, including a girl named Mandy Lane. As soon as she steps into the hallway, all eyes turn to her. Mandy is established as an angel, a mythical creature, untouched, pure, and unattainable. She's the most beautiful girl at school, and maybe in her whole town. Guys want to be with her, and girls want to be her. Many can remember having a person like that when they were in school or university. Maybe some were that person.
Since the dawn of junior year, men have tried to possess her, and to date, all have failed.
However, this hasn't always been the case for Mandy Lane. Nobody knew who she was until she suddenly blossomed over the summer break.
Hi.
Someone got fucking hot this summer.
There's a cloud of mystery around Mandy. There are only a few things you, as the audience, are allowed to learn about her life. Number 1, Mandy's parents died and she now lives with her aunt and a 21-year-old female cousin. Number 2, she's a pretty good athlete. And number 3, she has only one friend, Emmett, who now seems to be out of her league. The movie doesn't want you to know more than that. You're supposed to judge and objectify Mandy the same way all the other characters are doing it. You might feel resentment towards her, you might think that she isn't that special or even beautiful, or you might fall under her spell like everyone else.
Jesus.
Everybody wants a piece of Mandy Lane for their own benefit and validation, but nobody's trying to get to know who real Mandy is.
No, trying to get you, right?
Get me.
Get with you.
The thing is, Mandy's character is aware of that. She purposefully feeds into people's idolized ideas about her. Even when she introduces herself, she wants people to see her not as some girl with a generic name, but as Mandy Lane.
I'm Garth.
Mandy Lane.
As Amber Heard, who plays Mandy, commented, quote, "In the first part of the movie, she's a great representation of all those girls who are insecure and uncomfortable with their sexuality and their power, and yet they're strangely intrigued and tempted by it." End quote. Mandy Lane believes she's different from everyone else. From the original script, you'll learn that Mandy really likes Friedrich Nietzsche's ideas. The movie decided to omit this detail, but Mandy's beliefs are pretty much stayed the same and they get revealed at the very end. Nietzsche believed that people could be divided into masters and slaves, sheep and wolves. What's right or wrong for the sheep is different from what's right or wrong for the wolf. Mandy Lane considers herself to be the wolf, of course. Unlike the other teens who are led and controlled by their emotions and desires, them Mandy views as weak and pathetic. The script opens with these lines. High school students pour into the corridor from classrooms. There's the clamor of release after a long day of school as the students move like cattle down the hall. Students and parents moving without enthusiasm through life until we find Mandy Lane, 16, auburn hair, unadorned with makeup or jewelry, clear eyes scanning, keen, alert. She seems to be moving in a world of her own, distinct from the mass. Here it specifies that Mandy doesn't wear any makeup or jewelry. In the movie, Amber Heard as Mandy certainly has makeup on, but her clothes are different. She mostly wears white to signify her innocence and purity. She's not a complete prude, but she tries covering her body more compared to the other two supporting female characters, Chloe and Marlon. Mandy's skirts are longer, and for the majority of the movie, she's wearing a white shirt with 3/4 length sleeves. At the beginning of the movie, Mandy also rejects alcohol and drugs. She's trying to create a good girl facade, and her beauty is an exceptional tool which allows her to do this. Mandy Lane's beauty is not intimidating and loud, it's sweet and quiet. She plays into the girl next door type, and that helps her exude trust and vulnerability. She's supposed to be the final girl, the victim who survives against the odds, but the movie actually turns Mandy Lane into something even better, the mastermind behind all the murders.
This script kind of mocks society in a sense, in it gives you exactly what you think you're gonna get, and then it slaps you in the face with it in a sense.
Mandy Lane's motivations for killing a group of popular kids are never explicitly stated, but there are two main theories which might be true at once. The first theory is related to the before-mentioned Nietzsche's ideas Mandy is kinda obsessed with. She sees many people as superficial and weak, so when a group of teens who never cared about her start literally dying for her attention because of her new looks, she decides to teach them a lesson, with her friend Emmett doing all the dirty work. You can see Emmett wearing a Natural Selection t-shirt supporting the set ideas. In the script, it's mentioned that Mandy's parents were killed in a car crash caused by an unknown drunk teenager when she was little. She bounced around for a while before settling with her aunt. That made her grow up fast, and Nietzsche's work meant a lot to her and helped her, quote, see that guilt and grief can make a person weak, end quote. The second theory is a simple story of revenge. It's implied that before junior year, Mandy was not as attractive and might even been bullied together with her friend Emmett by the popular group. That's the sentiment Amber Heard holds as well regarding her character.
I don't think I needed to do anything to install my past and install a sense of sympathy, because we all know, we all watch the news and know that these kids are acting this way because they're speaking out and they're trying to break out.
Several critics have compared the events in the film to the Columbine massacre, since it's believed that one of the attackers, Eric Harris, wore a similar Natural Selection t-shirt. He also often wrote and spoke about survival of the fittest. It's unclear at what point exactly Mandy and Emmett decide to concoct their plan. The first death occurs before the main murders at a pool party organized by one of the popular guys named Dylan. Mandy accepts the invitation, but on one condition: Emmett can come with her. At the party, Mandy looks like she doesn't fit in. She's just sitting by the pool, observing all the people who are drinking, smoking, and making out. At one point, Dylan makes a pass on Mandy. Seeing how uncomfortable Mandy is, Emmett playfully sprays Dylan with a water gun. This scene foreshadows Emmett as the killer. Some of his victims will be shot and others stabbed. Dylan obviously gets pissed, throws Emmett into the pool, and holds his head underwater until Mandy intervenes. Humiliated Emmett, with a bottle of alcohol, retreats to a roof of Dylan's house, which overlooks the pool. Dylan soon comes to get him down, but Emmett convinces him to jump into the pool from the roof to impress Mandy, who's been watching them the whole time. Dylan's jump ends up costing him his life.
Look what you made him do!
Emmett and Mandy have completely different reactions in this scene. Emmett looks stunned. It seems like he genuinely didn't expect such an outcome. Anger and alcohol did their thing. Or he might be shocked that his manipulations actually worked. Mandy, on the other hand, looks annoyed. Her face reads, "What the hell?" with no sympathy for Dylan. By this point, these two might have already had some sort of plan on how they wanted to punish the popular kids, and Emmett might have ruined it. Or this might be the moment when Mandy realizes that Emmett can be a perfect pawn in her scheme and do most of the work for her. From Emmett's perspective, he and Mandy are going to punish stupid and pathetic popular kids by using Mandy as a bait. Once they're done with the killings, him and Mandy will die in a suicide pact, leaving behind their manifesto for the copycats and the police. What Emmett doesn't know is that at her weekend getaway, Mandy Lane will actually succumb to teenage antics and even find someone who she will consider her equal. After Dylan's death, the movie jumps 9 months ahead. Emmett has been completely ostracized, while Mandy has become the main target of Dylan's friend group.
Not friend anymore.
They're trying to befriend her by inviting her on a private weekend trip to a remote ranch. The group consists of 3 boys and 2 girls who, at first impression, embody the following stereotypes. Red, the stoner/class clown who is throwing the party at his dad's farmhouse.
It's time to get you ladies whipped.
Jake, the jock womanizer who is trying to hook up with at least one girl from every state.
There's like 40 states accounted for here.
42.
Bird, honestly the most normal guy in the group. He's also an athlete like Jake, can't really put him in the box, but he's a bit of a quote-unquote nice guy.
I'm not like the other guys.
The next is Chloe, the mean girl who used to date Jake and is trying to get him back.
Who's the smallest pecker in the room?
And Marlon, the promiscuous girl who is also in love with Jake.
Thank God for little brothers with ADD.
If you add Mandy Lane and Emmett to the list, they would be considered the virgin and the loser nerd, respectively. All these teens are driven by their insecurities and a need for validation. It's not even about Mandy Lane, she's just a means to an end for all of them. The guys want to get with Mandy to prove to themselves and to the other guys that they're capable, that they are the best, they have been chosen. The girls also want to feel special, but in the eyes of the guys. That's why they're trying to play it cool and help them with the plan. Mandy doesn't really need to heavily manipulate any of the teens. She's not the one pushing them out of the house one by one to meet their death. They do it themselves by creating drama within their group. Every guy is trying to win some alone time with Mandy, and every guy has his own way of approaching her. Bird is the first one who tries to shoot his shot with Mandy. Once the group reaches the ranch territory, Chloe refuses to drive further for fear of damaging her dad's car, so with the shortage of seats, Mandy volunteers to walk. Bird expresses his desire to do the same, thus they are left alone. As I've said before, Bird tries to play the nice guy card.
I have respect for the woman.
I can see that.
Pretty quickly, you notice that Bird isn't really trying to bond with Mandy.
Can I hold your hand? Can I kiss you?
He asks all the right questions but fails to read Mandy's discomfort. He wants to speedrun all the dating bases and get to the good part. Bird's sweet time gets interrupted by Garth, the ranch hand who works on Red's father's farm. He is an ex-Marine who, after the death of his beloved wife, now lives an isolated life. I'll talk about him and what role he plays later. Among the guys, Jake seems to be the most desperate and insecure one. When teens finally get to the house, they go for a swim in the nearby lake and later decide to play Truth or Dare. During the game, Jake gets deeply offended over the joke about his D size.
It's not a big deal.
He gets so upset that he storms out of the house. This might explain why he tries to sleep with as many girls as possible. It's overcompensation. Jake is pushier than others and when faced with rejection can become angry and turn to insults. At one point, in order to spend some alone time with Mandy, Jake messes with the power in the house, leaving everybody in the dark.
Perfect.
His lies and manipulation forces everyone to separate. Mandy starts looking for candles and Jake follows her. Jake's aggressive approach obviously doesn't work on Mandy and she has to push him away twice so he can get it in his head.
Turn the power back on, Jake.
The last guy, Red, to be honest, isn't trying that hard to be with Mandy. He's there to have a good time. He might feel inferior to Bird and Jake, thinking he has no chance of competing with them. You can see him singing to Mandy while playing the guitar. The song is called Sister Golden Hair, and the lyrics perfectly relate to Red's situation. It's about a man who has feelings for the woman, but for whatever reason can't take a leap of faith and commit to her, similar to Red, who lacks confidence to make a serious move on Mandy. Surprisingly, Red ends up forming a genuine connection with Chloe. What you will notice with all the characters is that your first impression of them is wrong, and they're not bad people, they're just stupid and young. These guys get there not even 7 minutes in heaven with Mandy Lane and then back off. Bird doesn't even try making another move on her. He's content with being in her company. There are moments when he checks on Mandy to see if she's fine, especially after she was left alone with Jake.
You okay?
Yeah.
He doesn't mind going and looking for the generator when there's no power, and he doesn't get super mad at Jake for lying about the whole thing either. Red is just funny and sweet, and Jake? It's kinda hard to redeem him. He's very selfish and treats Chloe and Marlene like disposable and interchangeable objects, but hey, at least he's not a racist, I guess. Among the girls, Chloe is the most self-conscious one. Body image issues is something this movie explores well, both from guys' and girls' perspectives. Even before you get to Chloe and Marlon and Jake, it starts with Emmett at Dylan's party. He's stuck in the bathroom, looking at his body in the mirror, being too embarrassed to walk up to the pool in his underwear. Chloe and Marlon's friendship is basically built on them insulting each other, and you wonder why they're even friends. They are both interested in Jake, but this is not the main reason why they're behaving this way. Chloe can't stop calling Marlon fat any chance she gets.
But you're all pudge. That thing's gonna get lost in the folds.
However, unlike her, Marlon has a thicker skin and a more positive attitude towards her body and sexuality.
I'm not fat.
When Marlon in turn makes a comment on Chloe's pubic hair when their group stops at a gas station before heading to the ranch, you realize how fragile Chloe's self-esteem is. Later at the farmhouse, she finds scissors in the bathroom and trims her hair down there. Like the guys, Chloe and Marlon crave attention from the opposite sex in order to feel wanted and accepted, but they do it using their body and sexuality. For example, Chloe makes sure guys can see the nipples through her shirt.
How do you get them that hard? It's a secret.
She also flashes Garth, the ranch head, at one point, but he refuses to give her the reaction she wants. Such behavior might again stem from Chloe's insecurity about her body. She ultimately feels heard and seen by Red, and their connection is quite sweet. When it comes to Marlon, she allows Jake to treat her like some side chick. She believes being sexually adventurous and prioritizing the guy's pleasure is a quick way of getting the love she desperately craves, but she couldn't be more wrong.
Come on, you're gonna go down on me, right?
Marlon actually becomes the first person to die, and her death is the most gruesome. After Jake storms out of the house because of a joke made about him, Marlon goes out to look for him. She finds him in a shed upset, so to make him feel better, she goes down on him. Jake acts like an asshole, he doesn't return the favor, and quickly goes back into the house, leaving Marlon alone in the dark. That's when she's attacked by Emmett, who was spying on them the whole time. He violently forces his shotgun into Marlon's mouth. It's a very vile and disgusting scene, but it also makes sense. It shows how much anger and jealousy is inside Emmett, especially towards the girls, since he probably felt romantically rejected before. People might think that by horror standards, the murders are not as creative, but they are very personal, and that's what makes them terrifying. Displaying this teen's vulnerable sides makes them very relatable, and I personally didn't want them to die. The second death is Jake's. He gets shot when he decides to search for Marlon. Then it's Bird, who confuses Emmett for Jake. He gets slashed across the eyes and stabbed. Then it's Red, who is shot, and Chloe, who is stabbed. Not by Emmett though, but by Mandy. Despite Mandy feeling disgusted by the way these teenagers act, it seems like deep down she always wanted to have the same experiences. At the beginning of the movie, she refuses to drink and smoke. On the drive to the ranch, the teens steal a beer keg from a man at a gas station, and Marlon jokes that Mandy is slowly getting corrupted.
You totally corrupted her, Jake.
And it's true, because eventually Mandy gives in to temptation. She drinks, does whippets, and laughs with everybody. Jake tells her that she's in no way better than them. Actually, they're the same. It's very hard to know what version of Mandy Lane is her real version. Her being nice to these kids might well be her trying to gain their trust. But the movie does present two weird scenes where you get a small glimpse of maybe the real Mandy Lane. The first scene where Mandy lets her guard down is the scene with Chloe in the bathroom. Drunk and high Chloe gets very anxious and scared that Marlon and Jake still haven't come back, so she asks Mandy to go upstairs with her. In the bathroom, Mandy tries calming her down. She keeps stroking Chloe's hair and face, and Chloe notices that Mandy's hands are shaking.
You okay?
Yeah, fine.
It's hard to know why that is. Maybe Mandy is anxious that her plan's end is near and she has to make sure that everything goes smoothly. Maybe it's something else. But as soon as Chloe notices it, Mandy reveals to her that both Jake and Bird tried to kiss her. Since Chloe caught her in the moment of weakness, Mandy decided to hurt her with words. It's also interesting that Chloe becomes the only person who Mandy kills with her own hands. Chloe, however, isn't surprised to hear such information. Her confidence has already reached an all-time low.
You're so much prettier than me.
If you want to believe that Mandy has much more humanity left in her, you might think that she reveals this information not to hurt Chloe, but to get it off her chest, since it's an intimate moment between the two. Maybe Mandy hates boys more than girls.
Will you protect us from the bandits?
Yeah, I'll do that.
How about teenage boys?
Yeah, them too.
This scene takes a sexually charged turn when Chloe forces a pill into Mandy's mouth. Turns out girls also love Mandy Lane, but I'm not sure if this is meant for men in the audience as a fan service or if the movie wants to show how hard it is to resist somebody like Mandy Lane. It's the case of, do I want to be with this person or do I want to be this person? I think for Chloe, it's the second explanation. The second scene where Mandy demonstrates her vulnerability happens when Marlon dares her to go and ask Garth to join their company during the game Truth or Dare. Mandy acts like a regular shy teen girl in front of her crush. Her hands are in her pockets. She awkwardly laughs when Garth declines the offer due to his responsibilities.
Are you sure you don't want to come in?
I'm pretty sure.
Garth becomes the only person Mandy truly respects. She sees him as an equal, especially after she learns that he was at war and very likely had to kill people. The guys think Garth is a weirdo who might have been traumatized, but Mandy disagrees with them. It's the first time she interjects a remark.
He doesn't seem traumatized.
Mandy especially connects with Garth when he comes into the house to supervise the kids after hearing gunshots. He tells them a story of how he had to put down sick cows. For a long time, Red thought his dad sold them to the neighbor, but it wasn't the truth. This scene brings back the herd theory. Mandy views other teenagers as sick and weak animals who can never be cured, and by putting them down, she's also doing them a favor. Mandy likes Garth because he has control over his urges and emotions. Garth is not immune to Mandy's beauty, but he knows that it's not appropriate. Similar to how people act in front of Mandy, the girls and women around Garth gush and thirst over him. However, he prefers to stay single and loyal to his deceased wife. Moreover, in the script, Garth and Mandy bond over their love for Nietzsche. Mandy didn't know ranch hands like Nietzsche so much. Garth, or high school girls for that matter. Garth can tell that Mandy is very different from the girls her age, and she is flattered that somebody is finally looking past her beauty.
You seem, different.
It's because I am.
As it says in the script, there is sadness about her, a wisdom. Garth becomes the only person Mandy chooses not to kill. In the end, she doesn't follow through with the pact she made with Emmett, because in her eyes, Emmett is just as pathetic as everyone else. He wanted to have her all to himself. The fact that they would die together almost like Romeo and Juliet was way more important to him than their supposed cause, and that's why, when they meet, Mandy tells him,
You should never do anything for me.
he was just another sheep in the herd, so now he deserves to die. In the script, Mandy spells it out explicitly. You're the same as all the rest, pathetic, vulnerable, and weak. After Mandy kills Emmett, she helps severely injured Garth get into the Jeep and they take off. As they drive, Garth can't take his eyes off of Mandy, and for the first time, a man looks at her not with lust, but with astonishment and admiration.
You saved us.
That's the attention Mandy Lane wanted. Maybe if Mandy hadn't met Garth, and maybe if Emmett was willing to die for their cause, she would have followed through with their whole plan. But at the same time, if Mandy believes that she's superior to most people, why would she want to die? Like any other teen in the movie, Mandy Lane wanted to feel noticed and accepted.
She's kind of like a vigilante in a weird way. She's like the hero for the bullied kids.
All the Boys Love Mandy Lane might feel clumsy and even tedious in places, but I love it for its artsiness and mood, the indie soundtrack, the pool party sequence, the hazy montages of teens and how human they feel, the way camera romanticizes Mandy Lane. You can imagine something like this happening in real life, and that's why it gets so dark and tragic. It's annoying that you're left with a partial picture of who Mandy Lane truly is, but I guess this is the point. You, as a viewer, can't have her either.